Conversations from the Cave is a raw self-help podcast dedicated to discussing men's issues. From pornography to parenting, from religion to real life, from learning to loving. We discuss the real issues that affect real men every day. Join us each week for powerful, revealing Conversations from the Cave. Now your host, Kirk Kennedy.
This is Conversations from the Cave. I'm your host, Kirk Kennedy. It's a pleasure having you again with us on this Sunday. As we do it each and every week, we have a panel of wonderful gentlemen who join us and discuss different topics of interest. This week's topic is disciplining children. What is a father's role? We all have children, or if you don't have children, those who don't have children maybe someday will. And we're going to talk a little bit about child discipline and the role of the father. As we do each and every week, we acknowledge each of our panel members. To my right, we have Mustang. Mustang, can you give us a shout out, sir?
Hey, this is Mustang. As always, very excited to be here with you, Kirk.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And right in the middle, BA, can you give us a shout out, sir?
BA here in Huntsville, just ready to change lives one word at a time.
And finally, Nola, can you give us a shout out, sir?
This is NOLA73. Meet you where you at.
Well, gentlemen, each of us in this panel has children. And the role of discipline is something that is hotly contested. Some people believe a hands-off protocol is the best way, and then there are some who have the biblical view, to paraphrase, this is not a Bible text, but spare the rod, spoil the child. That's not in the Bible, but, the notion is that corporal punishment is something that can be included in guiding children to better lives because they are understanding boundaries and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it from different perspectives. We've got some dads who have older young men. We've got dads who have brand new kids that are, toddlers and crawlers and, little rugrats. And then we've got some that are somewhere in between. So I'm going to start out with our eldest dad, Nola. Can you give us your feelings about the role of fathers in providing discipline to their children? Is that necessary? Is it important? And what do fathers do? And why should they do that?
Well, let me say it from my point of view. I have 3 boys. The first thing I'm going to talk about is discipline. The second thing is geographical area. Men need to be disciplined because if you don't discipline a man, they will raise up and try to attack you. Whether it's out of respect or whether it's just cockiness, you have to, as a male, you have to show that you are the dominant male. And then when that dominant male kid starts to grow up and they feel like they want to become dominant males, then that's when they have to, move forward. But you have to maintain a sense of reality with male kids. I have no daughters, so I can't speak on that. But with my oldest son, I grew up in the streets of New Orleans. It was a little bit rough. I was harder on him than I am with my 2 little kids now. And that was because of the streets, that we grew up in. So I was harder on him as far as, teaching him how to fight, different type of martial arts that I've taught him. The ability to defend himself, how to profile a person to see, whether or not you would be in danger, how to get up out of situations. So the experience that I've instilled in him is totally different. What the 2 kids that I have now, I don't teach them those things because the area that I stay in is not conducive to the streets of New Orleans. It's a total difference. Even though people are still the same no matter where you go, it's just the violent level that we stay in right now is not as big as it was when I was coming up. So I raise my kids based up on geographical and discipline. Discipline is going to be standard across the board. I am not as hard on my two kids now as I was with my oldest boy, but I am hard on them. They don't get as many whippings as my oldest son had received, but the whippings that I give to them now comes from me losing. Well, let me say that I have a big gap in age with my kids, so my tolerance level has gotten shorter, but my will to move fast to chastise has become minimum. So the things that my oldest son wouldn't get away with, my little boys can get away with because I don't have the will to just whip them consistently for little bitty things. I'm more talkative now. Second thing I would like to say is that you chastise your kids based upon their character. You know, I have my little boy, if he's doing something wrong, I can speak to him and make him cry. And he will feel so bad just because I spoke in a certain tone. And it is very effective. Well, with my middle son, he's more like a lawyer. He need to rationalize. He have to reason with you. He have to get his voice out. So you have to talk to him. And then when it's time to shut him down, you have to shut him down. Because if not, he's going to continue to reason because he's wanting to know why. And with my oldest son, again, coming up where I came up, I was more old fashioned. You don't talk until I ask you to talk. So if I say be quiet, that's what I need you to do. But all my kids know that daddy will discipline. It's just based upon their characters.
So what you're saying right now is that discipline, first of all, is related to providing guidance so that the person who is standing as a little sapling will grow into a nice, strong, straight tree as opposed to one that's all bent. Number two is you provide guidance based on the location where the person actually is and what kinds of threats and challenges they'll have to face. And then the last thing that you said that I thought was really apropos is that now you have mellowed with age, and corporal punishment now is more, isn't really needed. You know, having to physically provide guidance is not as necessary at this point in time, and you're able to reason and provide guidance so verbally. And it seems as though you were suggesting it was equally as effective. My point is this. Clearly, you see an involved role in providing discipline, and you see that there is a benefit to that for your children. And I dare say they probably recognize that you love them as a result of it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I agree.
All right. Let's move the discussion just to the middle of the room. B.A., do you have some comments that you'd like to share about your role as father and disciplinarian?
Well, first of all, and I believe these guys will agree, is I want to put a disclaimer out there for all y'all, is your child is to be disciplined by you. No, nobody else except you and your wife. And so wherever it happens, you know, you discipline them. You don't stand back or let other people dictate, you know, how the child needs to be disciplined. Now, the biggest thing is you've got to talk with your spouse about how this has got to happen. So when discipline happens, it's got to be swift. It's got to be to the point. And in my disclaimer, it's your child. Nobody else should base what they see you doing unless they know who you are, because that creates a lot of problems. And as I say that makes me think of when I was a kid. Let's just say I got the switch. I got whooped. I'm not saying beating, but I got whooped. And nowadays, it's not that way. I mean, I got whooped in school too. Nowadays, they can't whoop kids. They can suspend them, put them in school suspension.
They can lock them up and take them to jail, though.
Yeah, you're right about that.
A cop, they can bring a cop into school. I bet you if the teachers were, if there had been discipline early on, I bet you they wouldn't need to have. I mean, I'm sorry, that was a whole political thing. But go ahead. That's your point. Who am I? Go on ahead.
It's all right, Kurt. But let me just go ahead and, since the disclaimer over, I'm a father of a 3-year-old and a toddler. And right now, with the 3-year-old, a lot of 3-year-olds, not all of them, but a lot of them are talking about 3. We are trying to figure out, and yes, he is in schooling for this particular thing, and, he seems to be a little behind. But does he want to talk? We don't know yet. Will he talk? It seems like it's up to him. Because he does say some words and stuff like that. Now, when he does something wrong, yes, he's going to get a spanking with a hand on the bottom. The baby, really, we can't, say he's doing too many things wrong because he's just 1. And, we just try to talk to him. Well, and then also he does something wrong, he cries about it. So it's usually, okay, sorry, we didn't mean to holler at you, let's snuggle, because, he don't understand. And at age, he don't understand. So with the 3-year-old, just we're being patient and taking our time. But let me share, my discipline history. My dad, we're white-blooded American country family, and I'm not going to share a lot of details about this, but when he was a young man, he hated his father's butcher house, or the house where he stored all of his meats in the backyard, because typically that's where they would get the whoopings. And from what I know, my dad was beat. It was good, well, worse than a good country beating, because, we don't have those anymore. It made my dad tough, and it made him run off to the military. But he never did anything that his dad did. So with us, it took my mom doing some discipline, and my dad would spank us. I remember getting spanked by the belt on the bottom. I remember, from my mom's perspective, all right, go out and cut you a switch. And you sure didn't want to come back with a short one, because you had to go get a long one after that. And, switches aren't as bad as belts, but they leave some stripes. And a lot of times, just, the discipline of a switch is, it don't make contact with the rear end as much. You get, hit on the legs. But that's the way of a switch. Now, let me explain that to people who have never known what a switch is. You go out to a bush with long thorns, could be a rose bush, could be any other type of bush. You cut all those thorns off, and you got a nice green flexible stick, basically. But it was flexible. So that's where you got spanked with. And, I grew up pretty well disciplined from then on, because I knew those things were coming. And, I'm just praying and hoping that, in this